Hey there, let's talk biotin. So, we're going to be talking about how to get better hair, skin, and nails, and so much more. I have had a ton of questions coming in about biotin since I put my article out all about biotin at drbrighten.com. Hey, Ohio. Hey, Naples, Italy. So nice to have you here. So, everybody, I am Dr. Jolene Brighten. I'm a women's hormone expert and the author of Beyond the Pill. And Beyond the Pill is a awesome book if you like some food as medicine talk, which we are definitely going to be getting into today. I see that we have Instagram over here and YouTube in front of me, and I see we've got California and Australia in the house right now, and I'm super excited to have everyone here. So I would love to hear from you. Hey, Ireland. Have you ever tried biotin? Are you curious about biotin? Is it something that you even know is in your supplements? So biotin is also known as B7, and it is often found in prenatals, B complexes, multivitamins. But sometimes, you have to check your B complex and make sure that it has biotin because it doesn't always have biotin. And I actually had someone message me today saying, I'm taking this B complex, but I realized it only has four of the B vitamins. I'm like, well, that's not really complete B complex then, right? And anytime we take one nutrient and too much of it, we can push other nutrient imbalances. You see, these B vitamins in particular that we're talking about today, they're used in different metabolic pathways. And so if you ramp one up, and you don't have the rest, you can ramp up a metabolic pathway that then starts using up all your stores of other B vitamins. So that's why I advocate for using a B complex like my B Active Plus, or taking biotin in the form of a prenatal like my Prenatal Plus, which is actually right behind me, or taking a look at my women's multivitamin. So, the women's multivitamin that I have, the difference between that and the prenatal is prenatal has iron, and the women's multivitamin does not have the levels of iron that you're going to find in the prenatal. So, thanks for saying hello, everyone who's coming on. So, what is biotin? I've told you that it's also known as B7. It's also a water soluble vitamin. So, what that means is that if you're taking biotin and you have too much, your body can't use it. You'll pass it through your urine. But that also means that you have to make sure you're replenishing your nutrient stores of biotin. So, where do we find biotin? It's found in nuts and seeds. You can also find it in organ meats such as liver. It's found in mushrooms, leafy greens, cheese, cauliflower, bananas, avocado, and eggs. Although with eggs, you have to cook eggs. Otherwise, egg whites contain a protein that grabs onto your biotin and you can't use it as well. So, we definitely want to be mindful of our food sources. And remember, food is always the foundation. Now, I am a big proponent of using supplements, especially when you're in a healing phase, but really, you can't out supplement poor diet and lifestyle. So that's why I always start talking about food first. And you'll notice that in Beyond the Pill as well, is that whenever I'm talking about something, I set it up as the food first. Then we come in and we talk about supplements because it's just so very important that you have your diet dialed in. Now, what's up with biotin for hair loss? Now, in truth, the internet is full of women swearing by biotin, and I'm going to explain to you why. What's the mechanism of action? How does biotin work? However, I do want to let you know there aren't a ton of studies that really support biotin for hair loss. And a big part of that is because hair loss is usually multifactorial. So, with that, you'll read in Beyond the Pill, there's actually an entire table just walking you through hormone related hair loss. And so, with hair loss, it could be low biotin, it could be low protein, it could be hormone imbalance like excess cortisol, excess estrogen, excess testosterone, or it could be an issue with like autoimmune disease, and you could have autoimmune hair loss. And you know what? You can also have all of the above. And so that's why, like, when you get into the research, a lot of times when research is looking at single nutrients, so biotin being one example, and the researchers are like, what's the impact of biotin alone? It's not really how it works, right? If you were to come into my practice, I would be asking you a whole lot of questions, evaluating you completely, and then making sure that we're hitting all the areas that may be causing your hair loss and investigating. We wouldn't just be like, you know what? I'll just give biotin and see what happens. But when they research it, that's what it does. This is where research doesn't always translate to clinical application. And you likely know of someone who's used biotin has stronger nails, has better hair, notices their skin looks a lot better. And that's because biotin is actually involved in the structure of keratin. And keratin is a protein that builds our hair, skin, and nails. So, in that way, yeah, it can promote healthy hair growth. And biotin certainly is something that women notice that their nails get a lot stronger. And so, it helps, especially if your nails are brittle and prone to break. Biotin can help with that. But of course, that could also be a sign that you're hypothyroid. So we always want to investigate the root cause and not just try to replace. You know how conventional medicines, like you have a symptom, I have a pharmaceutical. Well, you can do the same thing with supplements. We don't want to be doing that with nutrients. We always want to be asking why. But biotin is something that, like, certainly you can take as part of a complex and can be beneficial. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about more benefits than just hair, skin, and nails. I mean, everybody wants to look pretty and have awesome hair, but biotin does so much more than that. So it can actually help with lowering blood sugar. So there's been small studies that supplemented with 9 milligrams of biotin. And within 1 month, they saw a reduction in blood sugar by about 45%, which, if you're familiar with polycystic ovarian syndrome or PCOS, at the root of that is blood sugar imbalances. So, biotin may be very helpful for women with PCOS. And I will also say to you that you can go to drbrighten.com and check out, I have a whole article about the top 10 supplements for PCOS. So, um, is taking your prenatal and B complex too much? No, not for the average person. When it comes to B6, that's always one we have to be mindful about. I personally do take my B Active Plus and my prenatal daily. So we talked about the diabetes piece. We talked about blood sugar regulation. Biotin is also involved in supporting adrenal and thyroid health. But what's really interesting about biotin is that if you're taking biotin within 3 days of getting a blood draw, it can make you look hyperthyroid on your labs. It does not cause hyperthyroidism. So that would not be true, okay? It's not that you're hyperthyroid or that biotin caused you to be hyperthyroid, but it can cause your TSH to drop and elevations in your free T4 and free T3. So with that, um so I see questions coming in. I want to make sure I get to the points I want to hit, and then I'm going to open up for questions. So, with that, just be mindful that if you're getting your thyroid tested, that you make sure to stop biotin 72 hours. That's what labs say. And if you go to drbrighten.com, you search biotin, you'll find my biotin article, and I have a link there to LabCorp's recommendations. That's one of the leading blood draw facilities and labs that doctors will send patients to. And I have the recommendations linked there for you. Now, something else that's really cool about biotin is that it may help with multiple sclerosis, which is an autoimmune disease that causes the destruction of the myelin sheath. That's a whole lot of words. Let's break that down. So, the myelin sheath, I like people to think about, like that orange extension cord, like we all know that. That orange plastic material is essentially the myelin sheath. Without that orange plastic material, the electrical current doesn't go from point A to point B. So it's very, very necessary. But biotin is also involved in fatty acid synthesis. So if anything that helps with building fatty acids, that's going to help your neurological health. And there's been some really cool studies done that have looked at the benefits of using biotin for advanced multiple sclerosis, which is a neurological condition. If it can help MS, it can help your average person as well. Now, what does it look like to have a biotin deficiency? So, hair loss, I bet you could have guessed that. Reddening of your eyes, so what's called conjunctivitis, that can sometimes be due to an infection, other times autoimmunity, and then a biotin deficiency can be a reason for that as well. We also see dandruff, like seborrheic dermatitis, other skin rashes. Some people have neurological issues like seizures, fatigue, depression, just feeling like their brain doesn't work right. And we can also see muscle weakness, loss of muscle tone, and lack of coordination. So, if any of those are ringing true for you, definitely go see your doctor and be like, help me out here. Do I have a biotin deficiency? Do I need to maybe be supplementing with biotin? Now, something else we see with biotin deficiency is you can be more susceptible to fungal overgrowth. So, if you've got athlete's foot, your toes are yellow and thick toenails and they're just not looking right. That could be fungus, fungal overgrowth, yeast infections, weird rashes on your skin. Low biotin can leave you susceptible to these kinds of infections. So, definitely important to be on the in the know on, and definitely important to understand that if you are pregnant, breastfeeding, you use a lot of alcohol, you've been using antibiotics for a long period of time, you use retin-A for your skin, or you have seizures and you use anticonvulsants. All of these can put you at risk for a biotin deficiency, as can being a smoker or having a condition that results in malabsorption, like celiac disease or pernicious anemia. So, really important to identify if you're someone that's higher risk and then consider supplementing with biotin. And at drbrighten.com, I have a whole article that breaks down what's up with pregnancy, breastfeeding, smoking. We go a lot deeper into each of those so that you can understand how is it that this can lead to a biotin deficiency and what to do about it. So we've talked already at the very top of this, we talked about food sources of biotin. And if you missed that, I'm going to encourage you to rewind, go watch that so you know where you can get biotin in your food. Because remember, food first, supplements second. And when it comes to supplements, there are three that I personally recommend. So excuse me, I have to swallow there. So, number one is my B Active Plus. This is a comprehensive B complex, and this is formulated with active B vitamins, which means that they're already in their active form. So, your body can use them, and your body doesn't have to put a whole lot of work in them. And the B complex, it's great for delivering biotin. It's also great for fueling your body with what it needs to do its estrogen and environmental toxin detox. That includes getting out xenoestrogens. It has B6 in it, which is really important for neurotransmitter health and building your hormones all together. And so, if you're not already taking a good B complex, you're identifying with some of the things that I've said here, maybe a good idea to check out that B Active Plus. Now, there's a couple other, and I've gotten a ton of questions from people saying, like, what supplements, what supplements, what supplements. So, I want to spend the time and just talk about two more. So, the other one is my women's twice a day. Now, I'm going to say this. This is like a super common question that my customer service gets and is like, but like, why not? Like, why doesn't Dr. Brighten have gummies or why doesn't Dr. Brighten have one a day? And you know why? Because that stuff doesn't work that well. And like, I have a commitment with my supplements. If I wouldn't give it to my family or take it myself, then I don't put it out there for anyone else to take. I personally, like, I eat gummy supplements. If I have those, I'm like, oh, that was a nice little bonus. But honestly, they're not as stable of what they can deliver. And like really like you're an adult. You don't need to have gummy vitamins. I say that because my 6-year-old, and even when he was 3 years old, did not get gummies. Did not get gummy vitamins. Like legit vitamins is what he got. But the other issue with anything that's one a day is you cannot actually absorb a one a day. You just can't absorb everything you need from that. It's physiologically and biologically impossible, especially when it comes to minerals, because most of these minerals compete with each other for absorption. So, zinc and copper play with each other, calcium and iron play with each other. And so, if you're taking a one a day, and I've seen this so many times with patients who are like, I'm taking a one a day, we take them off of it, we test once those things have cleared their system, and there are the deficiencies. They're eating a great diet, which sadly our food is not as rich in nutrients as it once was, but they're taking this one a day. And sometimes people take one a day thing and then they think like, oh, well, I don't have to eat that extra serving of vegetables. Yes, you do. All right. I'm not trying to mom out on you, but for real, you do. Now, with my women's multi, I formulated this one so that it still is giving you, so yes, it definitely has biotin in it. It has all of your B vitamins. It has vitamin D, vitamin A, but it doesn't have iron. And this is really for women who are not taking or not having their period anymore. So if you've lost your period early, if you, this isn't This isn't that you're breastfeeding, okay? But if you're in menopause, you really shouldn't be supplementing with higher doses of iron because you're not losing blood. And blood is how women lose their iron and why we need higher iron stores. Now, the other thing that I did, because I was like, well, you're not getting the iron, but we put in there things like inositol, which helps with better blood sugar regulation, quercetin, alpha lipoic acid, hesperidin, other antioxidants, including your mixed tocopherols, so like the vitamin E derivatives. And so some really cool stuff in there to really help bolster your entire antioxidant capacity. And that's the women's one a day. Now, if you are a woman who you're in your reproductive years, you have periods, you are on hormonal birth control, you're coming off of hormonal birth control, you are going to get pregnant, you are pregnant, or you had a baby, you want to consider the prenatal plus. And the prenatal plus and all of my supplements have the highest quality B vitamins in them. You will not find folic acid. Anytime anyone asks, I'm like, no, we don't put junk in there. And that's all folic acid is. It's a very cheap synthetic vitamin, but for about 40% of the population, it can be a real big problem. So why mess around with that? And why would I, if it's just like straight up, was not about to put folic acid in a vitamin and be like, if you're in the 40% of the population that can't handle it, sorry. Or, hey, if you're in the 60% that probably can handle it, you're getting this junk vitamin. We don't mess around with that. Again, if I don't want to put it in my mouth, I'm not going to pass it to you to put in your mouth. So, the prenatal plus also has a great balance of selenium to iodine, which can be very beneficial for women with thyroid issues. But pregnancy is also a stress test for the thyroid, which is why I put it in there that way. If you don't know, I have Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. I also, once upon a time, lost a baby due to poorly controlled thyroid health and I had a miscarriage. And so when I put together this prenatal, I brought my own experience as a doctor, but also my experience as a woman into that. So those are the three supplements that I talk about and that I've been sharing with regards to where to get biotin in a supplement form. And then of course, remember we always want to be making sure that we are eating our way to better health as well. I see that Duke 80A says that you tried biotin and it made your face super oily. So maybe it made your face super oily. It could have been other things as well going on depending on the supplement, or it could be high dose, and that happens too. Hey Alabama, thanks for joining us. And so sometimes people come in and they're like, oh, this is a good thing. Let me take massive amounts of it. As I cited, some of the studies are using as high as like 9 milligrams of biotin. Usually we're using micrograms of biotin. But the other thing is we want to make sure we have it in a combination formula. So be complex, women's twice multi, or prenatal plus. Now, here's the thing. Some women have written me, hey, Ireland, thanks for being here. I just love how we have women all over the world. So cool. Okay, so some women have written me if you saw my Instagram post about biotin, not Bitcoin, a lot of people thought it said Bitcoin. I'm like, I assure you that biotin came first. Now, some women wrote to me and said, it actually made my acne worse. What's up with that? I have a post on Instagram about how sugar makes your acne worse. And there's this whole mechanism of sugar and insulin and androgens, but also keratin production. And if biotin helps with keratin production, remember, that's the protein that helps us build great hair, great skin, great nails. My nails are not so great right now. I'm gonna just own that because I've been like hard and heavy in my garden growing food and they break like crazy when you are like pulling up weeds. It happens. So I'm not don't take my nails as like the nails to look for. But if you guys follow me on Instagram, you have seen my like nails on fleek when I am like not in my garden in the winter and I'm taking my prenatal and they're ridiculously strong and long and gorgeous. And I look at them, I'm like, wait, how'd you even grow? That's keratin. That's because of the biotin that's in the prenatal. So but with that, if you're somebody who's eating sugar and has poor blood sugar regulation, you can take biotin and it can help with that sensitization. And like I said, it can help with diabetes. However, if you're not checking your lifestyle and your dietary practices and you're just throwing biotin on top of it, you can make problems worse. And so, if biotin pushes keratin production and you're eating sugar, you've got blood sugar dysregulation going on, then you've got to address that while you bring on the biotin. And that's why I actually advocate of like, the women's multi or the prenatal has chromium in it. So that's a mineral that's going to help with blood sugar regulation. So that's a way that we can bring in multiple nutrients to really impact the system in a positive way. But we also want to make sure that we're eating well balanced meals. We're keeping our stress low. Yes, stress messes with your blood sugar. And just really make sure that we're supporting our body overall. So, if you find that you take biotin as a standalone and your acne gets worse, I encourage you to one, look at your root cause, but two, and believe me, drbrayton.com has tons of root cause business for you on acne. But two is to look at maybe getting it in a combination formula and not going crazy with really high dose biotin. Like there are biotin supplements out there that are like mega doses of biotin so that you can grow your hair, skin, and nails. But again, like I said, it's usually multifactorial, so it may not be enough. What do I recommend for those breastfeeding and not menstruating, the prenatal or the women's twice daily? So, if you are breastfeeding, you need a lot of nutrients. You'll notice in the article, I talk about how the biotin requirement for breastfeeding is higher. The requirement for all nutrients is higher when you're breastfeeding because now you're feeding an entire human via breast milk, which is awesome, which makes you a badass rock star, by the way. But the other thing is that it can be really nutrient depleting. So that's why we recommend in medicine that in general, women who are breastfeeding stay on a prenatal. You took you a year to grow a human in your body, right? About 10 months. So it's going to take you a year at least to recover your body, which is what my first book, Healing Your Body Naturally After Childbirth, was all about. And so with that, I generally say staying on the prenatal for at least like a year postpartum. Your doctor may even recommend longer. I personally breastfed for 3 years. Not judging you if you breastfed for 3 months, all right? And this is not competition, ladies, but I'm just saying, as an example, I breastfed for 3 years and I took a prenatal the entire time. I find I do a lot better on a prenatal. Like I said, I have Hashimoto's. I have a chronic disease, which when you have a chronic disease, you have higher nutrient status, or excuse me, higher nutrient requirements. So for me, I eat a ridiculous amount of vegetables. If you guys watch my Instagram stories, then you see that my breakfast is usually like 2, sometimes 3 cups of vegetables. I try to get up to 9 servings of vegetables every single day. So with that in mind though, does that mean that like, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna just not bother with a supplement? No, I'm gonna bring in my supplements as well because I put my autoimmunity into remission. If you read my newsletter this morning, that I sent out. You also know I have other quite frankly, they're life threatening autoimmune conditions. These antibodies take people's lives. They cause clots. They cause you just to crash and burn. And with that, I was able to put those in remission when my doctor said that like I probably wouldn't live to see my son turn 10. Like these are serious autoimmune conditions. And yet here I am with lots of energy. And part of that is the way that I manage my lifestyle. And I got that wake up call. So, you just read another form of folate called folinic acid helps to build DNA cells. Yes. So, yeah, folinic acid, folate, these are more of those natural forms, whereas folic acid is the synthetic form. Folate is heavily involved in DNA. And so, yes, with cell division, that's why it's so important when we get pregnant. So, yes, thanks for that question, D. Hernandez. I appreciate it. Um, Taking Be Active and Balance for PMS symptoms. I'm curious if it is something I will take indefinite time or just till my symptoms get better. This is a great question. Vandy Varick, everybody give her some hearts on Instagram. It's a great question. Let me drink a little matcha and then I'm gonna break it down for you. Okay. So, one of the things that causes women's hormone symptoms to come back is they employ protocols up until the point where they feel better. Then they feel better and they stop. And that's where they stop supplements. They're like, I won't sleep 8 hours or whatever it is that you need. They might start drinking more alcohol. They start doing things where they're like, yeah, I'm better now. Therefore, I'll just resume what I was doing before. You can't go back the way you came and expect to have like the benefits that you've retained from what you've already gained from that. Okay. So that's just like rhyming a lot there. this is Dr. Carrie Jones sometimes is like, "You should be a rapper because you're always rhyming." And I'm like, "It's because I read kids' books, you guys. That's the reality." Okay, so here's the deal. Usually with supplements, we wanna go a month to 3 months longer. So we feel good, go a month to 3 months longer before you start taking things off your plate. There are core supplements that most of us are gonna do well staying with. So one is a great multivitamin or prenatal. The other is having, some kind of estrogen metabolism support, so like Balance, my women's hormone support supplement. The reason for that is because we are in one of the craziest toxic times in terms of humanity. And our environment is full of xenoestrogens, which are environmental toxins that act like your estrogen in all the wrong ways. And as women, our cells are super susceptible to that. So, this is just part of maintaining your cellular health. Now, you may also need a B complex on top of that, just depending on what's going on. I have adrenal stuff. That's my personal history. So I need higher amounts of B vitamins than the average bear. It's also why the average bear. I so read kids' books. But that's also why you'll notice that like I eat a lot of like shiitake mushrooms and things with like B5, pantothenic acid, and I'm very mindful about my diet. Now, the other thing is omega-3 fatty acids. That's a really important consideration, as is vitamin D. And if you're taking a good prenatal or multivitamin, you're probably getting your vitamin D. Low vitamin D, though, that's all the problems with immune system health and with hormones as well. And in addition to that, I will say the omega 3 fatty acids, those are just really important for brain health. And it's us women who are at highest risk of dementia and Alzheimer's. It's also really important for keeping your cells just the right amount of like fluidity. This is me, I'm a cell. I'm like, let those hormones on the receptor. I'm such a dork. Anyhow, omega-3 fatty acids. That's another thing that I would consider. And then depending on where you're at, what's going on in your life, considering probiotics. And so I actually encourage people take probiotics, rotate in probiotic rich foods, eat prebiotics, and keep things mixing up. And I go through all of this on in Beyond the Pill. Oh, Alyssa, you've read that omega 3s are blood thinners and lower blood pressure. I already have blood pressure. Okay, so here's the deal. When you get into the research, so I was always taught this. When I got my nutrition degree, I've been taught this so many times. And then when I got into research, I was like, you got to take a lot of fish oil, like a lot to see the blood thinning effects. And it doesn't even then. So I had a traumatic brain injury in 2016 and I took 35 grams of fish oil every day. Usually potent high dose is 2 grams. I took 35 grams every day and I did that for a year. My blood pressure, that wasn't an issue with that. I also didn't bruise, which is a sign that your blood's starting to get thin. And in fact, all of my markers looked really, really good. Now, that's not to say that you couldn't have a pre existing condition that could make you more susceptible to the blood thinning effects of fish oil. But when you get into the research, it takes a whole lot of fish oil. And even then, not everybody has that same experience. And so, um, what I would say is view it on what is true for you and what is actually going on for you. Um, sorry, there's so many questions. Sorry, I have to drink a little bit of tea here. Okay. So the question is, you said you're taking my supplements. I'd be curious which ones. And you started them because you had really bad cramps. The first month was amazing. And then the pain came back a second month. And it may be so a couple things can happen. You can be supplementing, eating right, doing all those things. You have a stressor happen. Progesterone levels fall, cortisol levels climb to keep you safe. Then you end up with like really bad cramps. The other thing is that were we eating out more? We'd be exposed to more omega 6 fatty acids, which build stronger prostaglandins. If you're stressed out, you chew through your magnesium. That can also lead to cramps. So it is something that understand that like taking it takes time to balance hormones, right? I mean, one menstrual cycle is pretty phenomenal to see a change. On average, when you look at the research and what I've seen clinically, is it takes like 3 months of consistency to really have marked change. And we also have to be monitoring what else is going on. And if you guys have been hanging out with me, if you've been with me for a bit, then you'll remember when my dog died and I had the world's worst period because I had an acute stressor. Didn't matter. I was taking all the supplements. I was doing everything right. That happened. I was devastated. It impacted my period right away. Um, So for PCOS, Sydney, I would recommend going to my Instagram. I have tons of PCOS posts that I've done recently, and drbrighten.com has a ton of PCOS articles. And then Beyond the Pill actually has protocols that can help women with PCOS. You guys are like so many questions because we missed you. Yeah, and then okay, so back to that period question. You were taking the period problems kit. It may be something beneficial to add on the magnesium plus, as I describe in Beyond the Pill, which is 300 milligrams every day, then hitting like 600 milligrams like 5 days leading up to your period to get a handle on all of that. And yeah, I've been gone for a bit, guys. I've been working on some of the most epic hormone projects that are coming your way, rolling out this year, beginning of next year, and lots of stuff. So I really, really appreciate you guys being here. Sorry I haven't been live as much. If you saw me last week, I was in Topanga, California. I was filming 12-hour days. I was like, Hollywood, I am not cut out for this because doing all the makeup, all the hair, and like recording all day, I'm like, my little introverted self was like, somebody lock me down for a while. Um, so I will definitely, any suggestions for HPV, go to drbrighten.com. Giant article there for you, breaking it all down. Pretty much, guys, I build so many resources at drbrighten.com. They really encourage you to go there and look at that information. So I will be coming back more regularly. Stay tuned to my Instagram. If you don't already follow me there, do it at Dr. Jolene Brighten. Make sure that you also follow my YouTube so that when I go live, you can be in the know and you can get your questions answered. I'm going to be heading out to a really cool event. Stay tuned for that. And as such, when I come across other experts in the field that can help you live a more vibrant and amazing life, I'm also going to grab them and make them record some videos with me. So be ready for that. Shout out to Megan, my assistant, who has been putting all kinds of links on Instagram for you guys during this live video. So definitely check that out. Thank you all so much for being here. This was all about biotin. And if you need more support, you want to dive deeper on biotin, please go to drbrighten.com/biotin. And it's there for you. You can get access to all that information and tell your friends. Make sure that we're tagging other women and supporting other women. I know this information is like you want to take it and hold it close, but make sure we're supporting other women because the only way we're going to create change in this world and really create change in women's medicine is by spreading the word and supporting one another. So I will see you all next time.